There we go.
We're good. Talk away, guys.
Well, hello.
Get some water and let you get started.
I got you. Well, thank you, Professor Strong.
Water bottle.
Hmm?
It's right there.
Okay.
I'm all the way over here. I don't wake up.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Round Robin Radio Show. We are so glad you're listening in, whether you're listening 2 years or 2 days after our initial broadcast. We want to welcome you to our show here at UNT Dallas. My name is Jonathan Brunelli, and I have my 2 classmates here with me. Would y'all like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Clarissa.
My name's Patrick.
Clarissa is currently off camera, but she is the star of the show. I have to be honest. She's not wearing her vibrant lipstick, though, today, aren't you, girl? She normally has a bright blue lipstick on, and she walks into the room and says, "Yes, I am the queen you've been waiting for, okay? The fashion icon, to be exact." And today, I thought it would be fun if we talked a little bit about a specific topic that has become more important in my life recently than it should have been. I have never really been a big reader, novels, graphic novels, any of that stuff. Never been a big one, but I'm pretty sure my girl Clarissa over there is a pretty big reader. So I want to start off by asking her, what are your favorite books, and do you have any recommendations for me? Kind of walk me through your genres that you like to choose and just anything in particular that you find to be the best of literature.
Well, I mostly read romance.
Twilight.
Mhm.
I'm still. Well, here's a funny story though. I'm still trying to finish the Twilight books.
How many have you gotten through so far?
So far one.
One. Well, they're big. They're really big books. That's why I was like, those. I don't even know how long those movies are, but not long enough.
Yeah, and right now I'm currently reading a romance book called You Reach Sam. You Have Reached Sam.
Who is that by? I feel like I recognize that.
It's by an author named Dustin. He
Is it just a one name kind of guy, or?
he has a last name.
Oh, he does. Oh, yeah.
I don't really remember. I just know his first name is.
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm on chapter 20 of that book.
Chapter 20. How many chapters are there?
I think there's if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 30. 30
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're almost done. Well, I mean, I asked you because I'm going to be honest with you, Clarissa. I haven't read a book in a very long time. And I mean, I probably shouldn't be sharing this on air, but sometimes whenever I need to reread my assignments, I put it in a natural voice reader or that text to speech, and I just read it, or I just have them read it. And sometimes I have to be honest, I use Speechify, and Gwyneth Paltrow makes my papers sound a lot more interesting than they are. Okay, I'll say that. With her,
Darth Vader reading it.
I think that would it'd be probably pretty funny. I'd probably have to pay premium for his voice, but yes, yeah. Are you a fan like Emily Henry or Colleen Hoover? I know those are kind of like the bigger authors nowadays. I know Emily Henry is probably more your style, like romance, but I don't know if Colleen Hoover's books are romantic.
Her books are kind of questionable because I heard from people and from friends that a lot of people don't really like her books because her books kind of focus on toxic and domestic violence.
Oh, that's really that's very intense topic. Yeah. Well, it's also kind of, I don't know. It's one of those things where, well, I do know actually. It's kind of difficult to read about those topics. Of course, it's difficult to read about those topics, but I feel like authors, and this goes for screenwriters and just kind of filmmakers in general, they kind of try to pick the most traumatic possible thing that can happen to a human being. And they're like, let's just add it in here. And it's like, they don't have an experience of their own. And it's just one of those things where it's like, there are just certain stories. I feel horrible for saying this, but there are certain stories that just don't need to be told. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you can't tell stories about domestic violence. It's just whenever it's kind of a book like Colleen Hoover's books, or I don't know, they're kind of like, there's a bunch of hype around them, and they're the really popular books. So of course she's going to find a way to almost glamorize it. And that's what I worry about. Like, everybody was talking about that whenever 13 Reasons Why came out, they were like, it's glamorizing that. But with Colleen Hoover, it's almost like people think it's a talent to go in the dark corners of their mind and pull that out and put it on paper. And it's really not, because we can all do it. I think there's probably an excerpt from somewhere that says it's like humans are like the limits of what humans are capable of are limitless, or I forget what the saying is, but it's just like we all have the ability to be evil and to do horrible things, but it's the thing that it's, I guess, oh my gosh, I'm just going on and on and on. It's just what makes us human is just the fact that we actually do have empathy and that we care. And it's like whenever you write books like that, it's like that book. Have you ever heard of A Little Life?
Yes, I heard about it.
People are like, oh my God, that's my favorite book. I was like, okay, like, for any of y'all who don't know what that's about, it's basically about this gay man who's dealing with basically like physical trauma, like his back, and like his back's giving out, and he's only like 30, and he's basically almost deteriorating. And then they decide to flash back, and this man has been sold into he's been sex trafficked like at least 5 different times in his life by people who he thought he could trust. And you read that book and you think to yourself, does this author hate those kind of people or something? Because it's like, after a while, you're like, how much can one character take? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever read a book like that? Just kind of one of those, like, it's just like every single time, like the universe is just beating down on this person, like left and right. This person can't catch a break, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I actually read like books like that, and there was like this book series that I couldn't really get into. It's called After. Like,
oh my God,
no. Like, to be honest, I don't really understand how people can like the books and the movies. It's just, for me, it's kind of dumb that our generation is like in more on that toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you like romanticizing this? Like,
yeah.
Why? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, people died over Euphoria. People love that show. And it's like coming back and they're like, well, now since it's been so long ago, they're in college. I was like, they should have been in college in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't like, it's like, if that was a book, people would lose. Well, I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't like focus groups going after, like, I mean, I don't know if have you heard of you've heard of all the book bans, right?
Yes, I heard about it.
So, I don't know if you've heard of Penguin Random House. They're actually doing this thing where they call it the bandwagon, but band is spelled BANNED. So they're going around in communities and they're basically handing out free copies of these banned books to these communities that are affected by it. And sometimes I wonder, I think it's great because a lot of books are banned for racist, and not that the books are racist, they are banned because of racism and because of stereotypes and microaggressions and all those things that go into an executive's life. But sometimes I wonder if books should be banned or at least not available everywhere. Like, there are some books that it's like, I went to my local library and it's not a brand new book. I don't even want to say the name of it because it's not a very edifying thing to say, but it looks like it's a very interesting book. And I was like, oh, I love to read it, because it's like something that I do love is whenever part of the description of the book is like 3 different characters and they're like insane. Like, there's a book that I really want to read. It's called The Salt Grows Heavy, and it's about a plague doctor and a mermaid who descend on a town of evil children hungry for flesh.
Okay, that's dark.
I know. But it was like the way that the summary was written, and I thought it was really interesting. But This book I couldn't find at my local library. So it's like, I don't know if that's because of a ban or just because it's just not a well-known book. But sometimes I wonder, I mean, I know I probably sound so horrible, and I don't want to sound like I am ultra right-wing. No offense to any listeners, but I don't know. I think there are just some books that should only be accessible certain places. I don't know. But the thing is whenever you're able to police what books people can and can't get from certain read or goodness, what's the word? Just places they can get books from. Whenever you're able to police that, then you can police anything. So it's like they like there are a bunch of books out there that like they've banned because they make white children feel bad because of slavery and because of segregation. It's like, not that you should feel bad, but I think children should be aware. So it's like, imagine living your life not knowing what any of that stuff is, because we don't know what kids are being taught nowadays in history. And I'm not saying that a lot of people like to blame schools, but I think sometimes school boards, when it comes to elementary and high school, I am blabbing on. Goodness gracious. I can go and go and go. Truly. I just, I don't know. I think a lot has changed since I was in school, but sometimes I wonder if like kids now need to learn things from books that aren't assigned readings. Like they learn about life through the books they discover on their own. But since books are banned, they can't.
Yeah, and like especially here, like in the state of Texas, and this is what Professor Holmes ended up telling us, and in the classes that I taken with her, that in the state of Texas they ban like certain history books because the government doesn't really want kids and teenagers to learn about the dark side of history here and about the dark side of racism.
Yeah.
So here in the state of Texas, they basically ban those. They literally ban those textbooks from schools.
Didn't they ban a Rosa Parks book?
Yeah.
I think, isn't the Diary of Anne Frank banned too?
Yeah, it's also banned.
I remember.
I read that when I was younger.
I don't know. It's just, and they also banned Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou,
Right.
and it's just like, sometimes it's just like, where is this going to end?
Now, if they
or like, how is this going? How is this going to benefit our country in any way?
If they ban The Giver, I'm gonna be mad.
It always
That
gets
book's not that.
It always gets to a point where the book is now more in demand from the banning than it was before it was banned.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of librarians start stocking up on the book, even though they're supposedly being told to pull it from shelves. And they're like, no, it's now on the banned list. Everybody wants to read it.
Yeah, and it's just like I know that we are just a university radio show, but
Right.
I want to tread lightly on this. But with our new administration, if we thought book bans were bad, then, oh, honey.
Then you would have a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of like a lot of questions that they're kind of making people wonder about what Trump's administration is doing.
Well, yeah, it's just there's not really a clear path he's going to take. We've heard his promises, and ironically, something that we never thought would happen, his promises came true. And it's weird because he picks and chooses what he's deciding to focus on. But everything that he's focused on, the way it's presented to the public is sugar-coated with a, how do I say this? They sugarcoat it as liberal assistance to this group, but what it really is looking out for the whites of the scenario.
Right.
They go, well, we're making sure that there is we are making sure and cracking down on anti-Semitism on campus. So that's like I wouldn't call that liberal. I'd say that's just kind of we're actually helping. But what's really happening is they're policing Palestinian protests.
Oh, yes.
So it's like they make it sound like it's going to help somebody, but in actuality, what's really going to happen is it's really actually affecting somebody else. It's like, I'm not going to throw around the word white privilege, but what I will say is it has a lot to do with that. And the fact that it's hard to explain to certain white people of certain social classes, of certain ages, of certain political parties that, and I mean, I'm not going to try and paint myself as some woke know-it-all. I just have done research, and I think one of the benefits of college is having an open mind. But I don't know. It's just it's one of those things where it's like you can't really explain to people why they should care about a situation if it doesn't affect them, and that's like one of the biggest dilemmas I think of our day. Just people just can't relate to something, and when they can't relate, they don't feel like it matters to them, and then it just continues. And I think honestly, politicians bank on that. Trump probably banks on the fact that people, or the thing where it's like people can say, oh, we know all of his followers, like a bunch of them are on food stamps and a bunch of them have government assistance, but they're okay with him taking that away.
Right.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, no, I think it's majority of them are probably middle upper class white people who are fine with that. And the thing is, it's like the what is the term where it's something the dissenter doesn't define or it's like I forget what it is, but it's basically the fact that we hear a vocal minority on TikTok. We see all of the, pardon my French, country bumpkins on TikTok going, Trump save us, because those are people who go viral. But the thing is what majority of those people not only make up our population, but make up the people who voted for Trump and support his cause. Because I'm pretty sure the majority of Trump's followers are middle to upper class Americans. And I would say white, but Trump somehow is able to garner following from almost every race. But I feel like I'm going to get doxxed. What's it called? It just turned into Rush Limbaugh. Okay. It just rest in peace. But yeah. Or what's it called? Rick Roberts, doesn't he have a show?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my brother's so funny. He'll call into there and me and my dad will be like, my dad would pick me up from school and we'd turn on Rick Roberts or whatever. And then my brother's like, all of a sudden we're like, yeah, we have Andy Bernelli from Garland, Texas. And he goes, hey, Rick. And it's like, it's like, if you knew my brother, you'd be like, that's crazy. But it's like, well, the little like, oh my God, he's famous now.
Right.
Like if you guys weren't sure, we do have a famous person in the room with us. He's sitting across from me, Richard Strong of KRLD Radio News.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself famous even after as many years as I've spent.
Well, he's very seasoned. How long have you been in the radio business?
1987.
So he's a well done steak. It's not medium rare.
Pretty much.
Well done steak. Oh my God, I've never heard of that before. I would just say he's a seasoned professional. How about
You were
that?
talking about seasoning, so.
Oh my God. But yes, Professor Strong. Well, where did you? Well, I know you started your career in Chicago because you're from Chicago. But didn't you say you were from Rockford, right?
I worked in Rockford for about 3 years before I turned around and wound up getting a job in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And then I came down the lakeshore to get another job in Chicago. It was kind of convenient because those are cities that are like within 90 miles of each other.
Yeah.
So it's a nice triangle that works out even better than Dallas, Austin, and Houston.
Isn't that what they call the tri-state area? Or
Right,
something?
tri-state.
Because it's like, or oh yeah, tri-city. Well, no, the tri-state area is in New York.
Tri-state's New York, Connecticut.
Isn't it?
Okay. But I've heard of it's a metroplex.
Yeah, it's pretty much all one thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it Evil Incorporated?
I'm
Phineas and
not
Ferb.
sure.
This whole tri-state area.
But were you originally born in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay, I got you. And it's like I don't know. It's just funny. Whenever you said that you worked in Rockford, I remember one of my friends. She was from Rockford. I was like, I knew her in high school, and she called it Glockford.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's pretty much it.
I was like,
it's a messy crime town. They have a good little news graveyard going on there.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah. But after you went from, well, how far, or what's it called? How much of a gap was in between your like Chicago, Milwaukee kind of stint from Denver?
At least 5 years, 7 years, if not that.
And how long were you in Colorado for?
I was in Colorado for 12 years.
Well, do you like it there?
Love it there.
Yeah.
Wish we hadn't sold the home. Oh well. You know.
Oh yeah. What's it called? You could have rented it out for like Airbnb or
Right.
something. Yeah.
We thought about trying it. We thought about trying it, but you've got to have your own maintenance crew to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's really a lot. And
Yeah.
it's like people, I mean, it's kind of like to all of the people checking into the Airbnbs are like, oh my God, another $150. I was like, $150, that's nothing.
Right.
That's not even with tip.
In
Right.
Boston,
Because it's like-
Massachusetts, it's $350 per person just for a regular Airbnb.
What do you mean? You mean the cleaning fee?
No, just overall.
Oh no,
How
I'm
much
talking,
you have to pay per
I'm
person?
talking about the cleaning fee. Like
Yeah.
how 150 wouldn't cover it. Like
Yeah.
250
Yeah.
is
yeah,
200 plus tip.
Right.
So it's like, and that's like for three. You like three people split that. So it's like, yeah. But also, isn't real estate really expensive there? Isn't it kind of comparable to Colorado?
It's very comparable to Colorado. That's one of the problems. And Illinois is losing property tax value. It's just the homes are still expensive.
That's crazy.
So you've got to work a little harder in Chicago to buy your own place.
Oh yeah, I bet. I'm like,
And Dallas still had a pretty equitable. That's one of the things that brought us down here was the housing market wasn't crazy.
yeah.
Not like it is right now.
No, I mean it's bad. It's got its neighborhoods. It's got its areas.
Yeah.
But it still isn't over the top crazy with price jumps. We were able to get a few bids in on what we like, and it worked out.
Yeah.
In Chicago, you get one bid in, and you got to submit 3 more because they've run by you already.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just buying a home in Denver is just nuts.
Mm.
It'll take you 4 or 5 attempts.
How far were the places that y'all like lived in from downtown? Like, was
Well,
it
5-8 miles. I mean,
Oh, okay.
we're not pure suburbanites, but by the same token, we didn't. After I left Chicago, I didn't really want the life with no yard.
don't y'all have animals, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay, yeah, because I was like,
I
that's.
wouldn't mind not having a yard.
I feel I don't know. Like I've always, like, of course, you can't tell people in apartments, hey, you guys can't have dogs or whatever.
Right.
But living on the 3rd floor or the 2nd floor and having to go down every single time, and if your dog has a nervous bladder, or just like
And it's 20 below.
yes, or your dog's really old, and it's
Right.
like, oh my gosh,
We did
gotta,
that.
like,
We did that a couple of times.
yeah, that's just really hard. And it's like I know people have the AstroTurf, but the dogs know it's not real because they can't eat it.
Right.
But yeah, that's just. But yeah, I was like, I didn't even think about how cold the place is. Well, you're used to really cold weather, aren't you?
I'm not used to having a severe winter right back at me in Dallas, which has kind of been somewhat amazing.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden I look up and the temperatures are 30, 35, and it's starting to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Which most of the time 35 degrees doesn't bother me at all. But
Yeah.
when it's wet and when it's windy, it really does.
Oh, those are awful days. But like, do you kind of look forward to those days? 'Cause it's almost like a
No.
slice of home.
No, not really. I don't miss it that much.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't like the 105-degree temperature days.
Oh yeah,
You
those
know,
are awful.
anything above 100 and you're boiling.
Yeah, I'm like something. I do sometimes prefer the cold only because you can kind of fix it. But
Right.
with the
With
heat,
heat,
it's like you can only
can't.
turn the air conditioner up so
Right.
low or so high. But
And it will only work so hard.
yes, yeah, yeah. That's very interesting, Professor. I remember you told us all about this stuff, and also I think fun fact for anybody listening, Professor Strong was there for the Jeffrey Dahmer trial,
Yep.
which is kind of insane now because it's like we know that as the reference to any if there's ever a joke about a serial killer or pop culture reference, that's who we know of, and they just came out. Did you see that show?
Well, which one?
The
There have been
Netflix one.
So many.
I mean the kind of one where they're actually playing characters. It's not a
Oh, yeah,
documentary.
okay.
Did you watch that?
A little bit.
Oh, that's just hard because I'm like, not only were you there, I can't imagine replaying that. I don't mean to bring up your past trauma or anything, but I'm like, I just think that's extremely interesting that you were there.
It bothers me. It always will. Because I was hired and set to start 4 days before he got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And he got arrested, and the news director is on my phone begging me to walk out of my current job and drive up there to go cover Dahmer. And my current general manager in Rockford came in. He looked at me and said, "Why are you still here? Get out of this job. Go to your new job in Milwaukee. They need you right now."
Oh God. Yeah.
So I blew off a 2-week notice doing that. And then I got there, and I don't think I got any sleep for 6 weeks or something like that. Then we finally got the case into the courtroom where it's at least easier to cover things because physically what you need is nearby. When you're covering a big outdoor story with 5 cops over here and 3 cops over there,
Mhm.
who's who and when do you have to interview?
Exactly.
You're running back and forth. In the courtroom, at least, there's the judge, there's the prosecutor. Okay, we got it. You know?
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy. I'm like, not only hearing the stories, but seeing the pictures. I'm sorry. I can't imagine. I know that was probably a big point in your career, but I am sorry about that.
I remember
You had
all the
to-
names, all the victims,
Mhm.
all the people charged with the crime. I remember the name of the man who killed Jeffrey Dahmer in prison.
And,
That's
oh, sorry.
what's up.
I kind of remember you telling me one time when I went for the radio station where you work at. I remember you telling me that they kind of like pepper sprayed the news reporters.
Yes, that's happened to me.
They what?
Well, the cops got a little pissy and they pepper sprayed us.
You were a pepper? Oh my God.
You get used to the bullshit.
Oh
Trust
my
me.
God. Not being pepper sprayed at your job, your corporate job. That's
Well, they got
crazy.
sued for it and we won.
Good.
So they had to all pay us. I forget how much it was, but it was enough for a weekend somewhere else. You know,
That can, what's it
it
called?
was
Can't
enough
that,
for
like,
me to get out of town for a nice weekend. No, that the problem is with levels of trauma like that, you have to forgive your own memory's ability to stop playing tricks on you. Because there's a lot of things my brain doesn't want to remember that I do remember.
Yeah.
And I know it's right because it's always looked that way. It's always been that way.
Mhm.
But you have to forgive your own brain for trying to jump on you all the time.
Yeah.
And essentially knock the stuffing out of you. Because it will if you let it. You just have to know how to stand up and walk slowly through it.
Yeah. Do you think some of that trial is blocked out of your memory a little bit?
Oh, much of it.
Yeah.
Or I remember
It's
it.
probably the
Or
best.
better yet, I remember it incorrectly is probably what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
My neurons have taken over and they've taken those synapses over and they say, no, it didn't look like this. It looked like this instead. And it looked nothing like that. It's just that I can look at it this way. I have the ability to look at it this way rather than the other way.
Yeah. Sometimes I know it's kind of difficult whenever our memory blocks out things, but sometimes I prefer the other version of the story, or I prefer what my brain has told me what's happened, because it's like, although it may be a little delusional, I kind of you know how people what do people say, they're like, or like you kind of like to live in your own fantasy, like it's kind of like this is how I remember it, or this is how I know this is not how it was, but this is how I remember it, and it's like I'm fine with it at this point. And it's like sometimes I can draw a little comedy from that. Like any of my stuff. I wouldn't compare it to yours because, oh my goodness, I cannot imagine. But sometimes there's humor to be found there.
We lived on that.
Yeah.
We lived on absolute gallows humor for more than a year up there. And then through the other ones, like the Denver theater shooting, I was at that one too.
You're kidding.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one really got bad for me because I was a university professor in Denver as well as a reporter, and 2 of the students were in my news reporting class. They were killed in the shooting. Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And one of them was pregnant with their child.
The
book I could write, the book I won't write. No. That one I can't even really look at.
That's awful. That is so awful, Professor Strong. Oh my gosh.
Well, once you have these experiences too, you'll be ready to run to the classroom, and there you can help a new generation of reporters feel through all that shit that's going through their brain.
Yeah. It's like that is something that I don't think people talk about a lot, about kind of the like what reporters and news teams go through, like having to see those things, because we get a abridged version of the
you get what filters out of us.
Exactly. Right. But the thing is, you see everything the police officers see. Right. You see everything the detective sees.
Well, correction, if we want to. And to do the job, you usually need to see those things.
Because it's like, you may not show it, but you do tell about it. You know, it's like, and that's, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of funny. I'm like, I can relate a little bit to it because ironically, I work in the funeral industry, and we cater funerals at the place I work. And it seems morbid, but it's really not.
There's a kind aspect to those kind of industries that you have to have.
Yes.
Or you will not be very long if you're cracking jokes at their expense. It is not an easy thing to do, to be the nice, calming undertaker to listen through all of that. But if you are far better than most of your competition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Like the trauma that news reporters go through is not really talked about enough, because I remember back in 2022 in South Korea there was a crowd crush that killed 159 people. Most of the people
Awful.
were like young adults in their teens and 20s, and there was like a documentary that was released after 1 year after the tragedy, and like one of the news reporters said that the hardest thing for her to like cover that story, that news, basically was like the ages of the victims, the names of the victims,
Yeah.
because like it was hard for her because these were like young people who died there in the street, and she said that she still remembers like first responders, people like doing CPR on people who were like suffocated, and like first responders like basically taking the body of the deceased. So she said that she had a lot of trauma because of that.
That's so awful. Did you see all those videos about like in South Korea where it's like I think it was like, didn't they like militarize the state, or it became a military state? I was like, I'm sorry. I saw the lady. Did y'all see the lady? She was such a badass. She was like, the guy's like pointing a gun at her and she goes, "What are you going to do, huh? Are you going to shoot me?" She just stands in front of him. She's like, I was like, work. Like it was great. I'm like, I know that that's a very serious situation, but honestly, that's what we need. We need people who are confident. We need people who are strong, because I think that's what governments bank on. They bank on the fact that people are going to shy away and that people don't want to get involved. And that's honestly how they, like they perpetuate whatever they're trying to do in that country. That kind of reminds me, Professor V was telling us, or Dr. V was telling us about like, just like tragedies. And I knew you were talking about first responders. It reminds me of, I don't think I knew all the stuff that went on during Katrina.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the nurses killing the patients because they weren't going to get out of the hospital on time. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like someone also said, like the people in the Superdome who were living there, like the assault, the like abuse that they faced, crazy. Like people were giving birth there, like it's insane. I was like, I'm like, there should, something that unfortunately is just kind of part of my mind as a screenwriter, digital production major is, I'm like, that should be a series. But I remember here like, nah, that's people's trauma. But obviously there's probably been a book written about it or something. But I don't know. That's just, it's like we came back to before. It is what humans are capable of.
Right.
And I'm like, it's crazy because it's like, you think you know people and you think you understand humanity, because I feel like maybe I'd say more or less in Texas, we haven't really had any of those large scale disasters. I don't like, and when I mean like, if we've had shootings, they haven't necessarily been in where most of us live. They're like in downtown Dallas, and most of us don't live there. Most of us live in the suburbs surrounding downtown Dallas.
Right.
Or if there's like a hurricane or tornado, it's like down south. And if it is a tornado, that's like, I feel like the biggest tragedy that we actually face, and I'd say like Lancaster, DFW, kind of any surrounding areas, is tornadoes. I think every other tragedy, it's either like, I don't know. I think I say that, but it's like the Allen Mall shooting was how long ago? And he killed how many people? The Allen Premium Outlets, and that's what's it called? That's not too far.
That long ago.
Yeah, I'm like, well, the thing is I'm like, maybe it's just the fact that I have never been there and I've never experienced it myself. That's another thing. That's just a bias that I have. People are like, well, nothing ever happens in my corner of Texas, but it's like, it happens down the street. You just weren't there. I mean, ironically, I even honestly, I take back everything I said, because I'm like, down the street from me, I don't know if y'all heard about it, the boy who walked in to a convenience store. He's like 14, and he shot his 2 friends and the clerk. Did y'all hear about that
Yeah.
story?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
he fled to Mexico. I
Yeah.
kid you not, I can see that gas station from my
Oh,
apartment.
no fooling.
Yes. And it's like, I've been in there before. It just has that vibe where you're like, I got to get out of here. And
Right.
it's like,
Right.
it's not like I was scared it was going to happen again, but it's like, there's something, it's like, you know, how people think that places are haunted. Something about somebody either dying or being shot somewhere, it lingers.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like
There
that's,
are various landmarks I can no longer face. I
Oh,
can't
yeah?
go back to the Concord Arms apartments in Milwaukee,
Oh.
which were Jeffrey Dahmer's. I have a
My
really
God.
hard time going to that mall where the Dark Knight Rises played, and that mall was only a mile from my house.
oh,
So
and,
and
well, you had a personal connection too. That's
yeah,
the
and I had a
thing.
personal connection on top of a story that was in my backyard. You know, that was just a little too crazy for me.
I can't imagine. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm very privileged and very lucky to have never
Yeah.
been a part of one
We've
of those
never
things.
been bit,
Yeah.
but guess what?
mean-
The odds are starting to turn in the other direction.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful that I was part of the generation where they kind of started implementing all of the like the safety for an active shooter.
Right.
Like, I mean, I see the course, the little online course that we have for UNTD Dallas, but we've been taught all that stuff before. And I know that people are like, well, we shouldn't have to teach our children that. And it's like, the
We're
world we
sorry
live
we
in.
have to.
Yeah, I'm
But
like,
guess what? We have to.
yeah, and it's like we can talk about gun control until the cows come home, and of course, I'm obviously for that. But it's like, ironically, that's just a huge industry in this country, and it's like basically saying getting rid of pharmaceuticals.
Right.
We're not getting rid of guns.
No, we're not.
And the thing is it's not that we're not going to get rid of them. Of course, we need regulations, but I'm not trying to say that I'm like, well, you know, you liberals, you leftists. Like, I'm not trying to say anything like that. But what I am saying is, coming from a realist or a realistic perspective, that's not something that we're going to see in the future.
Right.
It's going to be we're going to keep our guns. You guys are going to have to change.
Yep.
Meaning, we're going to have to be the ones that are going to have to start wearing protective gear. We're going to have to be the ones that, like, I don't know if you've seen the implementation they've done in the classroom. It's actually really great. It's not the whole like lock the door, bar, all that stuff. It's like they basically slide a little key that connects the door and the floor together. So you can't even like rip that door open. You can't shoot
Good.
the lock. You can yank all you want, but that door's not coming open. But yeah. But I'm very grateful that I haven't been a part of any of those shootings, or just been present for that. I think that's just so traumatic.
That's another one that, so long as we keep saying just thoughts and prayers, that's when we're going to wind up with nothing.
Mm.
My belief about thoughts and prayers is, yes, those are mandatory.
Of course,
You know, but it's not the only thing you offer.
Yes, I'm like, and it's hard because it's like we want to speak out against these things and we want to make change, but whenever we see people trying like and have such a valiant effort, and then they come up not only short, but then they get in prison for that, or they go to jail for that, it's like, what? It's like there's a difference between rioting and looting, of course, but sometimes it's just, you know, the history, and you know that, of course, America changes and America has changed over the years, but it just becomes really discouraging whenever you want to make change in this world. And it's like, people are like, well, how are you going to make change? Why don't you go and do something? You stop complaining about it. I'm like, what can I do? I can join these causes, but I'm not going to see immediate action. I probably won't even see action in the next 10 years. And that's depressing.
Yeah.
And I know that people can say, well, no, it's not about the result. It's about the journey. And I'm like, no, but it is about the result. I want to see, I want to see the prevalence of guns dissipate. I'm not going to say that I'm going to take them away from anybody. I think everybody should have a freedom to do that. But it's just stuff where it's like, oh yeah, we can open carry on campuses. Do you see how that's crazy?
Yeah.
Where
don't
do
you see
shootings
you're
happen?
asking for it?
School
Yeah.
campuses.
Right.
And now you're saying people can open carry. People can say, oh, you know, he was an AR rifle. I was like, you don't need an assault rifle to be a school shooter.
No.
You can use any gun. I'm like, it's the sort of thing where it's like it's always the exception, but it's the exception is not the rule. That's the topic, or that's the saying that people have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like especially like schools here, they don't really have that much security here.
No.
Yeah, and like,
and even if we do, it's not
enough because like ever since like about the school shooting, like a lot of parents were kind of mad, like saying that like why did it took for a school shooting here in Texas to happen for schools to start having more securities, like for students to wear clear backpacks, to have more police on campuses apparently. And that, and I mean the funny thing is that the person who did the shooting in Uvalde wasn't even a freaking student.
Of course he wasn't. They're never students.
Yeah, like,
or I mean, actually, no, I won't say that. They are students.
Yeah,
at
well,
times.
some of them are, but some of them are not. And like, you know, like that's basically the thing that many people don't understand is that the person who did the shooting wasn't even a student. He wasn't a high school student. He was literally like a grown-ass adult.
Yeah.
Or like people were supposed to trust are the shooters. Like the guy who did the Allen Premium Outlet shooting, was the shooter. He's a veteran.
Yeah.
And it's like this sort of thing where they were like, well, protect our veterans. And it's like this. And it's like, I'm not against protecting veterans at all. I do think there should be protections, and there's just not enough government assistance for those people. But whenever that happens, it's just like, oh, that's a mark on the record, because it's like, we know how America is. Whenever one person of one race, sexuality, gender, or whatever does something, that goes for everybody. That it's like, and people can say that's not the way it is, but I believe it is. People saw that, and people probably commented on his race. They probably commented on like, oh my God, they love to make gay people the villains. They're like, well, he's a veteran, but maybe he's gay. That's why I shot all those people. And you're like, period. I was like, I don't know where you got that from. Go off, sis, with your conspiracy theories, Nancy Grace.
Yes.
but yeah, it's just sad. It's just awful. It's just like, and then, well, it's hard sometimes because people then they compare us to other countries, and they're like, oh, well, this wouldn't happen in Australia. And I was like, well, Australia banned guns in 1996, so of course it didn't happen. It's not going to happen in Japan either. It's just the same thing. Like, people say that things work in other countries, but they're not going to work here. We're very different from other countries, not just because we have that American attitude that we're all so unique, but our countries just run very differently. You know, like I feel. Anyway, but sorry. Continue on with what you were saying. You went down a rabbit trail there.
That's all right.
But what you were saying about Uvalde and the shooter wasn't even a student. It's like, how can you even protect from that?
Yeah.
It's so random anymore.
It is random.
That's the problem.
It doesn't mean anything. It's like
motive is less important than means.
Exactly.
Means have become the motive. Has become the means.
Yeah. And just the availability of like VPNs and like, I mean, it's the sort of thing where it's like, of course we have the Patriot Act and they can view whatever they want depending on our just our web online activity. They can view that stuff. And the thing is, they've caught it before. They tell the parents, and the parents are like, whatever.
Yeah, they have,
and it's like,
no attention to it.
I know that we can blame the parents, we can blame the kid, but it's like, I think it's all about blaming. And it's kind of like, so what are we going to do about this? And it's like, you know, we see all these regulations for the airlines, and it's like, that's what you guys spend your time and our money doing, is trying to regulate airlines. I'm like, okay, if you don't want to pay $300 to fly to Cabo, just don't go to Cabo.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah.
Or go somewhere else instead, or drive. How about that? Take a ferry to Cabo. I don't know if Cabo's an island. I'm sorry, I'm not educated in that area of the world. but yeah. But we so appreciate you guys listening today. It was a pleasure. Of course, this has been Round Robin Radio. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Rich.
Clarissa.
Patrick.
And we hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Don't worry about saving it. That one will